This is Keys to the Shop, Founder Friday edition. Today we're talking with Miel Castagna-Herrera and Curtis Herrera of Cafe Corazon. Well, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Keys to the Shop, where we give you insights, inspiration, and the tools you need to grow as a coffee service professional. My name is Chris DiFirio. I'm your host for the show. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so. Just hit the subscribe button wherever you get these podcasts. Always be up to date with new episodes. And also, if you have the opportunity to rate or review this show, that would be awesome as well. Now, I want you to know that Keys to the Shop, on top of offering the resource of this podcast, also offers consulting for you and your business. If you're just getting started in the coffee business and want some guidance as you open your first store, or if you already have store or stores and looking to upgrade your operations or have an assessment of what's going on, do some problem solving, Keys to the Shop consulting is available to help in many different capacities, whether in person or over the phone coaching and consulting. Let's have a conversation about what works for you in your context. Just email me, chris@keystotheshop.com. I would look forward to talking with you and seeing how I can help you wherever you are in your coffee journey. Again, email me over at chris@keystotheshop.com. Now, today's episode is brought to you by Prima Coffee. Prima Coffee is one of the world's best specialty coffee equipment suppliers because they curate the best equipment from all over the world, constantly looking for the best to offer their customers, but also they work with their customers to make sure they're getting the right equipment for the job, for your particular context, whether we're talking about espresso machines, grinders, brewers, and the like, or even restaurant equipment like under-counter refrigeration and all sorts of smallwares as well. Prima Coffee has it all. I mean, just go to their website, prima-coffee.com, and check it out for yourself. You'll not only see this amazing selection, you'll also see that they're all about equipping you for success in the coffee industry because they have so many great free resources, articles and videos that are tutorials on how to make coffee, how to use the equipment, clean the equipment. Really helpful stuff, and that's what they are here to do, is help you. So I highly recommend, if you're in the market for commercial equipment, then I think you should really partner with Prima Coffee. Go check them out over at prima-coffee.com/keys. Today's episode is also brought to you by the wonderful Barista series from Pacific Foods. The Barista series is a line of plant-based performance beverages that are designed for the barista and by amazing baristas from all over the globe that make sure that this truly is a performance beverage. It stands up to the heat from steaming, it produces amazing latte art quality texture, and it really allows the beverage to be balanced so that the focus is on the coffee. And that's true no matter what you choose from their line of plant-based beverages, whether that's almond, oat, soy, hemp, coconut, rice. There is one to satisfy every palate of your customer. And as plant-based options are just growing in popularity more and more, it's not slowing down. You really want to be offering your customers the best options. And I truly believe that serving the Barista series in your shop is the best move to make. So if you want more information about this, to get it in your store, try it out for yourself, go visit their website over at pacificfoodservice.com. Just follow the link in the show notes. And again, amazing product, great people, the Barista series from Pacific. Okay, well, I'm excited today to present this conversation to you. As Founder Friday, always love these conversations and getting to learn the vision and history and lessons and things like that from really inspiring owners. And that is exactly what today's episode is going to bring, a lot of inspiration. We're talking with Miel Castagna-Herrera and Curtis Herrera, who are the owners of Cafe Corazon in Kansas City, Missouri. And they have done such an amazing job with representing their cultures through what they offer on the menu and how they have built their business. Cafe Corazon is an homage to both Miel and Curtis's Latin American heritage. Miel's family is from Argentina, and Curtis's family are from Mexico, and their culture is celebrated at every turn in the cafe. It's not just a cafe that serves coffee, it's also a mate house serving many different types of yerba-mate in the traditional manner from Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina, Brazil. And the whole point of this cafe is to create an experience centered on their culture, to celebrate that culture through the beverages and the food, the service, and to educate people on that culture. And it has been growing steadily. And I'm just inspired by their examples because there is a story of tenacity in the face of lots of different challenges, some that are typical for coffee bar owners, others that are not so typical. And in this conversation, we get into the history of how Cafe Corazon was built. We talk about overcoming those challenges, how it's been in this first year of them being open, and on top of all of the other things that they've had to overcome to open this place, this wonderful cafe, now COVID-19 and what's going on there. And, I really enjoy examples of coffee shops like this, especially because they are so just obviously what you get when you walk in is so heartfelt. It's not somebody trying to just glom onto the coffee industry wave. It's somebody who has really thought deeply and is expressing truly their heart in a cup, their heart in the way that the place is, it looks and feels, and the way they serve. This is the type of thing we need more of in the industry. So I hope that this is an inspiration to you. And without further ado, here now is my conversation with the owners of Cafe Corazon, Miel, Castagna-Herrera, and Curtis Herrera. Well, Miel, Curtis, welcome to Keys to the Shop. I'm so glad to have you on the show. How are you doing today?
Doing great. Glad to be here.
Thank you. We're so happy to be with you today.
I heard about your business and from a client of mine in Kansas City. As I looked into your business, I was like, this is so unique, and I loved the heart of what you're doing with your shop. It's really inspirational. I'm super glad to get you on the show to talk about this. And I guess with any good story, there's a beginning, right? So I wonder if we could just start from how the shop, well, not just how the shop came to be, how did you all decide that a coffee shop was what you wanted to do, and what were your first steps in making that dream a reality?
Well, we had living here in the Midwest, we recognized that the coffee was not well represented the way Latins actually drink their coffee. So we wanted to share that, and actually bring the community of Latins together here in Kansas City together, and have them have a place to gather and feel comfortable, as well as, bringing everybody else to, understand our culture and what we grew up drinking, coffee wise. So, that was our idea, is to give that coffee a voice to speak, for itself through our culture.
And the other thing too is I've always gone to coffee shops a lot, and I'm an addict, or we both totally love coffee, but it feels like the trend has been going a bit like wine, where people are super obsessed with notes and flavor profiles, and which is really cool. But I think that particularly, I'm not sure about like in Europe, but I know Americans, we don't connect those notes and those things that we find important to the people who pick the beans. Like, there's no connection. We just all think this cup magically appears in front of us. And our aim was like, we really need to represent here. We need to say, hey, those notes are delicious because the soil and all that, but at the same time, it's also because it's the people and the land they come from makes them amazing.
Yeah, and also, I grew up as well in Western Kansas. We worked the fields there growing up, and my grandparents actually coming from Mexico, they came to Kansas for a better life and to find work. So we grew up working in the fields, just pulling weeds and picking, different things, peppers and, all the vegetables that grow here in Kansas. So there was that connection to giving that coffee, that voice, the people that are actually picking those beans as well in South America. So it really touched touched us to make sure to, express that and to let people know, and understand, hey, this is coming from somebody's hands, actually their hands that are picking it. And so, we wanted people to recognize that.
Is that a value that you both had in other ways besides coffee before that? And I know you had experienced that growing up, and you have that connection to the land, and can connect that way. Was that something that you all had as a value, like individually, in other areas besides coffee, that you kind of cultivated because of your experience? You just bring that to coffee.
Well, I think growing up in a country, because I'm from Taos, New Mexico, but my father is an Argentinian immigrant, and growing up on the minority side of things in this country, you always are kind of connecting to your source and understanding culturally, like connecting culturally to everything, because you're not only from here, but you're also from somewhere else. And so it's sort of just a way of being when you're not in the dominant culture. It's just the way you sort of live. It's the way you are. You're always connecting back to sort of the primary or the other side of yourself. So in that sense, yeah.
When you set out to do this, you have this balance of like, okay, we want to have a successful business, but we also want it to be our business, and put the authenticity that we live behind what we do. So how did you set out originally to determine like how much of this business is going to be like unique in the sense that it's offering unique beverages and everything else, but also how much of it is familiar and accessible to people that are already familiar with these, like cappuccinos, espressos? How did you balance those things?
Well, you brought up the word authentic. We, going back to our childhoods, and actually even today, when our families get together, there's a lot of these coffees that we grew up drinking, and so our idea was to keep it authentic, to make sure that when other Latinos even come in, they even understand. They when they come in and they see the menu for the first time, they literally, we get people that cry.
Wow.
Yeah, because of the connection that they have. And people actually from South America, from different regions, when they come in, it makes them feel that they're back at home. So that was our whole idea, is just, to keep it authentic, to keep our design authentic, to have that feeling when you walk into the place. And it actually came easier than I thought it would be, just because I actually designed it and built it. And I built the tables and the cabinets and those things myself, because I do carpenter work. So it was easier than I thought it was going to be. It's just because of the colors and the vibrant colors we chose and those types of things. It just really flowed, and it connected, and it just gave it a good vibe. And we get that so much from our customers that come in. So,
but going back to what you said about like sort of traditional, well, what I understood like traditional menu and stuff, we took things that are completely authentic to both our cultures. Like we serve yerba-mate traditionally. Curtis's family is from Mexico. We have Cafe de Olla that's made traditionally, but we had to look at like traditional drinks, like say, let me think, like a latte, and create something that was authentic, but also isn't like, we don't drink horchata lattes in our culture. We drink horchata. So we had to come up with a way to make horchata a latte, which was really fun, like it was really fun to create a dulce de leche latte. Or we have some super like traditional things like a cortado leche, which is something from Spain, which people just drink there. So it's easy to make that authentic. But then there's some things we kind of made up, like the mocha Sevilla, which is like a mocha basically with orange peel. So just like inspirational at the same time, like pulling from the culture, and then some things are total mirror of things we have in our culture.
That's beautiful. And so you're the traditional, then the authentic expression of your cultures, and then your new the new expressions of the cultures. And that sounds like the kind of thing that in theory you would want to experience at a coffee bar in general. Like you want to walk into a place that has all of these different avenues that you can go down on the menu. And it seems like we've kind of homogenized the experience down to kind of a boring list of predictable options. That's why it's so exciting to hear those types of menu items. And I'm a big fan of yerba-mate myself. How did people that are not from those cultures or didn't have a lot of familiarity with those things, how did they respond to you doing this in their community? Was it positive? Is there a lot of education that's necessary? Describe that experience.
Actually, where our coffee shop is located, they've really embraced this, and I tell you, but Kansas City, they're still learning about us. We've only been open since September, but I feel like Kansas City they're open-minded, and they're willing to give it a shot. A lot of people come in, they don't understand the menu, and we have to explain it to them. Yerba-mate, the same thing. When COVID was not here, we were doing the traditional in-house. But we would go to the table and we would explain to them, how to do it. But
there is an educational component for sure, which is fun because we're turning people on to our culture. We're turning people on to who we are, who a lot of people are. Teaching people to do yerba mate correctly is so much fun because it's such a ritual, and teaching someone ritual is always fun because ritual turns into someone else's ritual, into someone else's, and it becomes your own. And so it's really nice to share that. We do, like when we hire baristas, we hire all POC people, and not everyone is Hispanic. And so we go through a huge, our baristas have to get very trained as to what exactly everything is and why. And it's awesome because then they're able to explain everything and people ask everything. And so that's super important to us, and it works out really well.
You've not been open long, and you've got a good reception for this concept that is amazing. It's great to know that your community is supporting that. And in the first months that you're open, this is, of course, pre-COVID, or at least pre-COVID the way we knew it. Some people knew about it in September, but whatever. The challenges that you faced when you first opened the store, describe some of those things and how you overcame those challenges. Was this your first venture into business?
Well, no. Curtis has been in construction and had his own company for many years. So we totally have always known how to do books and how to basically have customer service. It was the first time in the coffee business for sure. As far as challenges, oh my goodness, it was really hard initially because people initially, we tried to get into like 6 different spaces, and they'd hear coffee shop and they'd go, oh, cool. And then they'd meet us and they'd hear we say Latin coffee shop. And it was like, okay. And they never call us back.
Wow. Yeah.
We had that 6 times, and were places that were perfect for us, perfect spaces. And so we got turned down 6 times, and not even just turned down, like people wouldn't even call us back. And finally, we found a place that literally had a hole in the front of it. And the landlord was like, just desperate to get someone in there. And he was like, okay, whatever. And that was because Curtis could fix it. we got in. But I felt like initially people were like, what's a Latin coffee shop, one? And who are you guys? You know, like we didn't have a coffee shop yet. We were, you know, Latin in like in Kansas City, there are no minorities. I think there's a Black coffee shop and that's it. Like there are no minorities in the biz here, really. It's pretty much, yeah. So it was like, I think it was really hard breaking in. And when we finally did, now it's fine. But it was a year and a half of that, dealing with that kind of rejection over the concept, which was really disappointing.
We've actually thought that might be one of the easier things to do, is to find a place and then get in it. But it turned out to be probably one of the hardest for us.
Did you at some point, maybe you said it was really difficult to do that. Did that motivate you all the more, or did you just have to fight through just second guessing?
Well, being a minority in this country, you face challenges
all the time.
All the time. It's a daily thing. So we knew that going into it, and so we really had to prepare ourselves for it and make sure not to let it get to us, and just keep pushing through it. So knowing that, it was just one of those things. You actually sometimes you get to the point where you almost try to convince yourself it's not racism just to get through it, but knowing that it is. And also, even getting loans, it's really hard to get loans. We ended up having to get our own money together. And that's actually why I built our own tables and cabinets and stuff, because we didn't actually have all the money for it. And I remember my father, he was in construction as well. And that's where I picked it up at. And, you just had to go back to old school is what it was. And just, if you wanted it bad enough, then you're just going to have to build everything yourself. So, and I actually had old scrap wood from jobs that I had, and I used that, and it came out beautiful. I mean, we get a lot of people really loving the design in there, but it was in fact just scrap wood that I had in my backyard that I had kept, because I knew we were going to do this, and I knew I was just going to have to use what I had. So challenges, yes, it was a challenge. And, we are wanting to open a second one, but, we know we're going to have to face that again.
What's a shame is that even in the face of having a successful first store, you pretty much are expecting that same thing, to be the case. We in specialty coffee definitely are a little bit, we're very gatekeepy when it comes to what we do, in a lot of different ways. The way that places look, the way they feel, who they're built for. You're kind of plowing new ground with what you're doing, and there's a lot of resistance with that. And it's really admirable how, even having to go through all of that to build it the way you did and face that kind of resistance, that you can still, lovingly show hospitality to your community in the face of that.
Yeah, it's the community. I mean, I feel like not everyone is like that, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow in the business world, it shows itself a little more, that sort of thing.
Right. So how long did it take you to go from the concept to opening?
Yeah, it took us about from the beginning of the Ding concept until we opened the doors. I would say it was a year and a half, almost 2 years. From when we got, we had an airtight business plan, and we had our own money, like we had saved money ourselves. We didn't have investors or anything like that. So we had our own money. We were ready after the first year. After actually even 6 months in, my business plan was really good by then. But that whole looking for a space and continually getting shut out took about a year. So, but once we got the space, it was like 3 months, and bam, we were open.
You're ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. We were working a lot of hours, 16-hour days, just trying to get it open. knowing how much stuff we were going to have to build.
Yeah, it was hard. But, also we were very ready. I guess sometimes that's when, like, blessing about when you have hardship or people turn you away, is then you, on some level, you get stronger and you get better, and your plan gets better and you get more precise. And so it gave us that extra time to just make it even better.
At what point in the build out and the opening of the space, like at what time of that phase did you start to really feel that, this is coming together and this is going to work? Like what was that moment, and what kind of brought that moment on for you all?
I think, once the cafe started coming together, and we actually, the colors were just blending in with each other, and, it was just, I don't know, it just, once it started to get about over halfway done on the build out, you could just see it coming together, and that feeling, was just, I don't know, it was just something. It made me feel like, yeah, like you said, this is going to work, what our menu was, and just I don't know, that warm feeling I was getting. It made me feel like people, the Latino community is going to love this. And I don't know. And I think that as long as we can get the Latins in here, at first, and hopefully it would build, the Anglos would actually start to come in eventually. And, because here in Kansas City, we have a Latin community, but it's not really big. But so, you have to rely on the Anglos coming in. You just have to.
You have to hope they like it. And they did. So that was good.
Yeah. And I know and unfortunately, I mean, you have to. As much as we were shut down and we couldn't find a place, that's one of the things you still have to, it's in the back of your mind. Well, we can't get into a place. I hope this is going to work and they're going to love it, and so far so good. So,
but I also think too, like culturally speaking, we're used to there being like constant challenge and constant things in front of it. There's never a straight line for us. So I like, since the get-go, since the first day making the plans, there wasn't a question in my mind that we wouldn't get to the end of it and at least get open and have it be successful. I wasn't questioning that. It just, we knew we were going to have to bust our butts to get it from the get-go. And so we did.
So when you're open now, this is, going into the holiday season and business is starting to pick up. It seems, the people are starting to discover you and you're getting your groove. How did you kind of grow as baristas and coffee professionals in the midst of this? Because now this is your first coffee shop. You're not new to the business world, but in the, making drinks professionally, and a unique menu professionally, that's got to come with some challenges too. What kind of experiences did you have in developing the way that you run the production of your drinks and the running of the shop?
Well, Curtis has managed staff for years. So, and I'm just bossy. So like between the two of us,
type A.
I'm super type A. So the managerial part is sort of works itself out just based on what we know. But the professional aspect of creating the drinks wasn't that hard. Well, learning to use our machine, all of that stuff we did beforehand. And, it's not like we can make Santa Claus with latte art yet. So we're not like advanced, but making the drinks was like any recipe. And I know I've cooked since I was very young. I understand how flavors can go together, and we keep it simple by pulling ristretto shots for everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an easy way to keep it sort of consistent on that level, is that that's what's always going to be in our drink, no matter what. And so that's easy, because once you have that, it's kind of easy to figure out, how much chocolate to add on. If you start with the shot, then we kind of go from there. And a lot of our drinks, we started basically with the authentic recipe first and just added the shot, and it works out.
As business started to pick up, and you brought people on, you mentioned earlier that you hire POC employees, and you educate them with the drinks and everything else. Like in the short time that you've been open, have you developed any processes for that, or is it still kind of just, you're going to show up on shift and I'm going to talk to you, we're going to infuse you with the culture and the know-how and then make it work? Have you developed materials to aid in that? How's that gone?
Yeah, we started with materials. Like we had that bunch of, doors shutting in our faces. So it was like, oh, maybe I'll create a manual now for staff. And oh, maybe I'll create, like we had all that stuff going beforehand. We add to it as we go, if something seems like it needs updating, but we have like procedures. We have lots of procedures. Everything's sort of written down and in lists. And the other part is talking to everybody, but it's also very clear, like what expectations are and how to create. The recipes are very precise. There's no eyeballing. And we have procedures for everything. Yeah, and we train people for weeks. Like, they're in the shop and training, but they don't get to make drinks like for 3 weeks pretty much.
It's encouraging to hear that amount of time, like not making drinks for 3 weeks. A lot of people, I just had a conversation with a guy who was thrown onto the bar in one day and the next day was closing by himself in another location.
Oh, wow.
And if anyone's interested, that's Anthony Ragler's episode. And that's actually pretty common in the industry, that we give it the nice name of trial by fire, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And, that you end up learning a lot because you have to, or you're dead. But having that amount of time to help people along and being in the environment that you're in right now as a small business, you can really give some good attention to them, I imagine. How many staff do you have?
Well, right now we only have 4 and us 2. We made sure early on to choose a couple employees that had a lot of experience in the industry. So they're kind of helped us fill in holes with our knowledge from coffee. And they're still with us. So that's pretty awesome. But yeah, there's no way that we could do trial by fire with what we're doing, because there's just too much of an educational component, because Latinos that walk in expect the person behind the bar to understand what their grandma's horchata tasted like. And then who don't know what horchata is, they need to know what good horchata is. So there has to be this whole it has to work on both ways, so that the employee is completely prepared. Because if we threw anyone in, we'd get bad reviews, or people wouldn't like us. And that's just, we can't afford that, because our standing is tenuous anyway, because we're different. So we can't afford just to be like, okay, figure it out. We just can't.
And just about every customer has questions about our menu. So we make sure to give them the time and explain our menu, because our menu is different, and we understand that. And we're more than happy to too. We think it's great when we get customers in, which is every day. It makes us feel good. It just makes us feel good that they're there. It really does. And so with our baristas too, part of the training too is, when people walk in the door, it's just like when you come to our home, any Latin's home, you're going to be welcomed. right when you walk in the door, and you're going to be fed or, given something to drink, because that's just our culture. And we bring that into our business. So when they walk in the door, welcome, and everyone, we always say hi, and all the baristas make sure to welcome as well. And when they have questions, we answer those questions. And when they leave and walk out the door, it's, how was everything? We want to know, and then thanks for coming in. So we want everybody to feel like, they are just welcomed anytime in our place, and never to feel like they cannot ask a question, because we do get customers that are just nervous when they walk up and they see our menu, and they may not be able to pronounce one of the Latin names. So, it's like breaking the ice for them.
Mm-hmm. That's a big component of our training is the customer service angle, because coffee, I think, not all coffee places, but some, pretension is what you're dealing with. You're dealing with pretension with coffee, that it's like a fine wine. And so, no, we don't have creamer, and that's all good and everything. But like in our culture, you have to meet people halfway with everything, and you want them to feel at home. And so that's like a big part of the business. And we have to train our baristas. We have to train people to do that, because that's not a huge part of the coffee industry. And sometimes we like getting new baristas. Like we've had a couple people that had no experience, and that's nice too, because you don't have to retrain them not to be pretentious, or not to be like, oh, well, not to explain enough. We make sure that that's just a huge part of the training, because the drinks speak for themselves in many ways, but we have to speak for the drinks too. So,
yeah, great point. And even if you don't have, culturally speaking, if you don't come from a cultural upbringing where that is necessarily a part of your history, or you come from a coffee bar that taught you to be pretentious, when in whatever situation, it seems like our common humanity loves great hospitality. Like, we know we want it, and we know we like it. And so you could, for anyone that's been hired, there is a connection that you can make with that person to say, well, how you want that? Well, we want to give that to them too.
Exactly. And I think everyone appreciates it. Like, we've never had a grumpy, like, We've had some grumpy people in, but they come back over and over again. So they like someone being nice to them. So, Yeah.
What's the most common praise that you get and response that you get to all of this, the menu, the hospitality, whether on like Yelp or just in person? What are you mostly hearing from people when they've had a great experience?
I think the first, one of the things we hear is that we're super clean. They're like, oh my God, I could eat off the floor of your bathroom. Like, we're super clean. Like, and now, especially with COVID, but we were before, we were crazy, like, clean. And so people like that we're very, very clean. The space is incredibly spotless, without any dust, or like, we just keep it as clean as possible. Like, no dirt in the corners, nothing. That's one thing we hear a lot is, oh, I love how clean it is. And then people are like, oh my God, it's so treat filled. Like, our menu is kind of treat filled, because all those flavors we have, a lot of them are on the sweet side. Not all of them, but a lot. So people love the menu because and there's so many options. And then the other thing people comment on is how sweet the baristas are. Like, they love that. They love it that people are nice, that they're being nice. That, they like that a lot. So they're like, we love the hospitality. We love the.
Yeah, and they feel comfortable. They can ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one. They say, yeah, we come in, and if you have a question, the baristas, they'll explain everything on the menu if you need it. So, and that's what we want. We definitely want that.
That's awesome. Sweet drinks and sweet baristas.
Yeah.
For more.
Yeah.
So, you operated for a few months and things are going fine. and then COVID hits.
Oh gosh.
So this now is, from what we know about your history, seemingly on brand in terms of challenges. What happened at first with this, and how have you pivoted your business in the midst of COVID?
Well, I mean, that's a hard thing to happen your first year open ever. That was really rough to all of a sudden realize, oh my God, this thing's huge. And so we decided, we were going great too. We were like having rapid growth. Every month it was higher and higher and higher. And we were in our 6th month. And then COVID sort of hit. And then one day, like after a couple weeks of us stressing out about it, we closed for 2 months because we were like, we need to wrap our heads around how to do this right. Because the weird thing with this whole COVID thing is that there hasn't been like real directives. They're kind of general directives. The health department, the CDC, no one's like, you have to wear gloves. I mean, maybe now it's getting better, but at the beginning, it wasn't clear. And we were like, oh my God, are we doing this right? How often should we clean? That sort of thing. So we closed, and also just to quarantine, like have our staff feel safe and we feel safe and our customers feel safe. And we wrapped our head around it for 2 months. And we started offering like online ordering, online pickup when we opened up again. Our baristas wear masks and gloves all the time. When they take cash, they sanitize their hands after and then put new gloves on. We have all these procedures that, again, I wrote up in manuals because it's just too dangerous. And the amazing thing is we opened after COVID and our growth is way even faster and higher than it was before.
Really?
Of course, yeah. In Kansas City, the crazy thing is you are allowed to still dine in, but you have to wear a mask in spaces. There are rules for the customer, and we've limited our seating way down and put a bunch more outdoor seating. But like we're growing way faster than we were before COVID. But we're like super vigilant about what we're doing too. Like the baristas we're all on top of it because we don't want to get sick, and we don't want any of our clients to get sick either from our space. So we're just really on top of it.
That's really interesting that you're experiencing that on the back of COVID, and it seems like some of what we see happening is that people have been denied something and they realize exactly what they had. And then when they're allowed to go and do it again, they feel like, oh, I'm definitely going to do it. And 10 times as much as I used to, if I can. And your space is so unique and what you offer is so unique. It feels like the trend in the industry is not to become more like a cookie cutter coffee shop, but people were going to want more unique experiences. And you seem to be positioned very well for receiving that type of demand from the market. So in terms of who's showing up in your shop, do you see a lot more like new faces in the midst of like who's coming into the store now?
Well, our regulars that were coming before COVID, and also I'd say we get every day we're probably half of people that have visited previously and half new people is what the trend we're seeing. I mean, coffee's a drug, like people aren't about to give it up just because there's an epidemic going on. Like it's not something people are willing to give up. So it's not like we're a restaurant where you don't really need to have a pizza today. We're coffee. Like coffee, we need it to survive, most of us. But I would say that like every day half of our clients are new to us.
Do you have more people experimenting with like ordering the more traditional Latin-inspired menu?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I think when people walk in, they're expecting to already order off that menu. And we have the traditional stuff too. And there are probably about 10 people a day that still get an Americano or a cortado or something. But I would say the other, whatever, 150 or 200 are getting something off our Latin menu for sure.
Awesome. So this has been quite a introduction to the coffee industry for you all. In now looking into the future, I know you all said you wanted to open a second store. What are your plans moving forward for the rest of this year and into the next? Like, where do you want to see yourselves as a business? Maybe even before you explore having a second location.
Well, we're actually exploring having a second location now because it's so well. We're actually in the process of looking for a second space, but we're just thinking a little more outside the box, like maybe a drive-through or something like that to add in case something like this happens again.
Yeah, and also, here in Kansas City, we are in the Midwest, so we know we cannot venture out too far outside of the city, the metro area. The suburbs are they're probably off limits for us right now. We don't know if we'd be accepted in the suburbs with us being a Latin coffee shop.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we want to stay within the metro area, do another location, and then see how that one goes. And hopefully become a household name for here in Kansas City, in the metro area at least. But yeah, going out to the suburbs, Kansas City's big enough, but it's just we are in the Midwest, and so it's something that we really we had to consider.
Yeah, no, I totally get that, and it would seem like as you build your empire, your mini empire. That people would, from those communities would, they're in Kansas City, you might get demand for that generated from just the people becoming more familiar with your brand and what you do. And they want something that's different. And it seems like it's not just educating people on the drinks, but educating people on acceptance of new cultures and generally, like you're doing more than just helping them experience a drink culture, but an entirely different culture than their own.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think typically here too in the Midwest, when you see somebody of color, of brown skin, you're actually, everyone believes they just think you're Mexican. And, there's a lot of Mexican restaurants around here. And so, we're trying to break through that. And so that being said, to educate people on, there's other people, from different regions of South America that are not Mexican. We have people, from Argentina, Guatemala, we have people from different areas. And so.
Well, and we're trying to reflect that in our drinks, for sure. But I mean, one of the things in looking for a new location that our big aim is that we right now buy our coffee from Messenger, which is a local roaster here in town. They have direct relationships with 2 of their Latin American farms, and they're beyond fair trade. So we're using them right now. But our big aim the second shop is to go since we speak Spanish, we know the culture, to go into a couple of countries and make the contacts ourselves. Because one thing about coffee is and start roasting our own beans, because coffee is one of those things that is so hard on the people that actually produce it. And we got to walk the walk. Like, we're walking it as close as we can right now using the people we're using, but we need to directly walk the walk. We need to go down and meet these people, talk to the pickers and their family. Like I don't think a lot of people realize how hard it is, what a hard life that is for people who actually pick the beans. And so this next shop is going to be a direct relationship with those people as well, and to make sure that that's all super ethical as much as it can be, because coffee is a rough world for people that actually do it from the ground up.
That sounds fantastic, and it absolutely is. We are, the SCA has been talking a lot about this, and this is a conversation that has been thankfully, been at the forefront of a lot of what the industry is trying to help with, and it's down to individuals like yourselves and people who have businesses to make decisions like that, right? To walk the walk, as you say, and to help create that change. And, it is a convenient, getting a cup of coffee in this country, and it's such a huge convenience for us to do that and to lean into the story behind the cup of coffee and to go even further than where you've already gone in representing these traditional drinks to a culture that doesn't necessarily know them. Is really commendable. So I really hope you get to do that soon.
Yeah, we're going to work at, we don't stop until it happens, so it'll happen.
That's awesome.
I guess coffee's like any drug. When you're addicted to it, it doesn't matter how you get it. So, we don't want to be like that. We really do. We want to understand and know the people that are picking it and build a relationship with them. Yeah.
That's awesome. When you are talking with other people in the industry, or let's say that we want to just get some advice from you, I'm a coffee shop owner, or I'm going to get into owning a coffee shop. From your experience in the industry now, what kind of advice would you give to coffee shop owners to be able to run a good space and make a difference with what they do?
Well, I mean, we're coming from a different side of it, but I would say make sure whatever beans you're using, that you know about those beans, and you make sure that the people who are selling you those beans know the people who grew those beans. That should be the first thing, because so much of coffee is bought just from like a sort of a co-op, and who knows. Make sure that there's a direct relationship there. And the second thing is be your authentic self, no matter what that is, whether it's your culture or who you are on the inside, is that you need to let that shine, because that's what's going to make coffee be more exciting and kind of take it to the next level anyway, is just like be who you are, and don't be ashamed about it. Just be yourself, but be authentic, really.
The authenticity aspect of running a shop is really hard to do because there's a lot of figures and facts and marketing out there that you've got to sift through, and there's a lot of minutia in running a business, and staying in connection with your authentic self and the mission and vision that you've got to open the shop. That's a difficult task. And surely running something like this changes you, and it creates kind of a different reality, and you become not a different person, but you end up being slightly more, I would say, developed as your concept develops. And I guess that's my last question for you, as new business owners running this really unique concept. How would you say you've changed individually since, opening the shop and experiencing what it's like to do that?
Well, I mean, when we initially opened, you're like we said, we were trying to break some barriers. But as time went on, I think we've changed in a way, because we've realized how much the Latin community really needed this. And almost, with the things that are going on right now, with all these protestings and all these things going on right now, we realized that we actually here in Kansas City, I mean, we have become almost like a safe house for people.
Yeah.
And we never really expected that to happen, but we've embraced it, and we've taken on the challenge with that. And so that has changed us a lot. We like I said, people come in all the time, and they're just so happy we're there. and it's changed us. Miel, my wife and I, we have conversations about it every day.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's become it's weird, but it's changed us in the sense that we're more political. Like, not in the sense of like politics, but more in a general sense. Like, when we have people, women in hijabs, which Kansas City doesn't have an enormous Muslim population at all, that we get women in hijabs every day makes us feel like we're doing the right thing. We're making people feel like they have a place to be where they are unjudged and where they're welcome. And that's huge. That's been a huge thing to see that. Or, people from all over,
and they tell us.
They tell us, like, I feel safe here, which is, we weren't expecting that. You know what I mean? Like, we were going for the cultural element and for reaching out and touching people that way. But we weren't expecting for other groups like us to feel like they have a space and they feel like it's their own too. And that's been like really powerful because, like now I'm on like we're getting into local politics a little. We get asked to be on like boards for things. Like it's turned us more political. Before we didn't touch that kind of stuff. We just, did our own thing really. And now we're being asked to use our voices. And that's been super powerful because I didn't think my voice counted all that much.
I know, and we were always concerned, and we talk politics, as being a minority and like I said, what's going on right now in this country. So going into this and opening a cafe, it almost felt like it was meant to be, because it just felt like it was meant to be because now we have a voice. People recognize us, and we're able to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm really thankful for that. I'm thankful for what you all are doing, and you seem to be making a huge difference. Not even a year in, well, almost a year in now, actually. So congrats ahead of time.
Yeah, thanks.
How can we stay in touch with you and come visit you? Like, where do we go to learn more about Cafe Corazon?
So our website is www.cafecorazonkc.com, and our handles on Instagram and Facebook are at Cafe Corazon KC. And then you can just visit us in Kansas City. We're on Westport Road, 1721, right in Midtown. So hope to see you all there.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much to both of you for being on the show and just blessing us with your story and what you're doing for your community. I really appreciate you all. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We're the little cafe with the big heart.
Yes.
There you go. Thank you
so much
guys.
for having us on and giving us a voice. That really means so much. Thank you.
Well, I hope that you enjoyed that episode. And I also hope that it helps open our minds a little bit about what coffee bars can do and can be, how we can, create spaces that are authentic to our history, to our cultures, and that we can support people that are doing that and celebrate their unique identity in the way that they're expressing it through their coffee establishments. I think that's what makes coffee so exciting, and that's what makes the cafe such a exciting thing to be a part of. Certainly with examples like Cafe Corazon, there's a lot to be excited about. So big thank you to Miel and Curtis for joining me on the show. If you want to learn more about Cafe Corazon, you can just go to their website, cafecorazonkc.com. Follow them on Instagram as well. Of course, we'll have links to all of that in the show notes. And if you're in the Kansas City area, please absolutely swing by there. You want to have a unique experience from people who put a lot of love and pride into everything they do, then it's got to be Cafe Corazon. Now, if you want to email me with any feedback, comments, or questions, you can do so by emailing chris@keystotheshop.com. Also, if you're interested in consulting or coaching for yourself or your business, reach out to me there as well, chris@keystotheshop.com. And with that is the end of our episode. I thank you so much for taking the time to listen today and to learn about the history and story of Cafe Corazon. And as always, I hope that this episode has truly given you keys to the shop.